fired up right now to get to the Rude Guest Hotline and welcome in Matt Spiegel. Matt, what's going on, dude? How are you?
How are you, man? Good afternoon. It's an honor always to be on with Brian Mitchell. As a man who grew up as a youngster on the East Coast when I took whatever games were given to me, watching him dominate the punt return game against the Giants or the Eagles gave me great pleasure.
Appreciate that, brother.
That's great to hear, man. All right, so let's get to tonight's matchup. Obviously, this is a big one. Chicago coming off the bye week. It's been an interesting start for the Bears. Offensively, I think you've seen some really encouraging stuff. Defensively, some really discouraging stuff. What is when you get callers to your show on 670 The Score in Chicago? Like, how are people feeling about this Bears team right now?
People are feeling excited. We got a new coach, man, and we're feeling some of that new coach bump. I mean, the subtext of the whole year is whether Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams can make beautiful music together. But even bigger than that, to me, is what the Bears have done by getting the most sought-after coach on the market and handing him the reins. This is his operation. He is the philosophical head of everything they are doing as an organization. And they literally have not done that in this town since Mike Ditka. It's been weak ownership that has hired weak front office people who've hired weaker coaches, and that's done, at least for now, it feels like. So the vibes are good, and this is an incredibly juicy week, as you guys know. I mean, it's Caleb Williams' homecoming, which he is more open to discussing this year than last, as he is most things, because he's more comfortable and he's more honest this year, which has been nice. It's Tyreek Stevenson redemption possibilities after the Hail Mary debacle. And it's also Caleb versus Jaden, as Jaden is now just one of several quarterbacks who look like they are ahead of Caleb Williams in his draft class. And it's also, Ben Johnson against the team that knocked him out of the playoffs last year, as you guys know. So it is juicy with storylines, but overall Bears fans are feeling pretty darn good about things right now.
So it seems like a lot of things that they have that is motivating them against Washington. Shouldn't it just be a football game that motivate them?
Yeah, and it should be. It definitely should be. And like all that stuff that I just gave you is our narratives, right? That's our storylines, and the stuff that they get asked about. But yeah, just a football game ought to be enough. I agree, but like that's the thing, man. The focus of this batch has been really strong. Their attention to detail has gotten better. The penalties have gone down after a really horrendous and disorganized start on offense that was scary. So, like, things are starting to get dialed in. But we'll see. It's coming off a bye, you know? It's coming off a bye. And hopefully they are locked and loaded. And they've got some people back on defense and offense in terms of health that ought to help them be, a better version of themselves at the very least.
Matt, if you look at this squad, you look at last year compared to this year with Ben Johnson now, what's been the main thing that he's done that makes a big difference?
Honesty and accountability. And like Matt Eberflus lost that bunch probably before the Hail Mary game, but certainly after. Man, that week after that game last year, I don't even know if you guys realize it. Like, we watched, I'd say 6 or 7 different players openly question the leadership of the coaching staff in the week that followed because Tyreek Stevenson wasn't punished, and then he was only punished because it had gotten to the players in their hands. And Eberflus never pointed a thumb and said, maybe I shouldn't have just given them that extra 10, 15 yards before the Hail Mary try. And maybe I should have called a timeout before the Hail Mary and discussed it. And, he never pointed a thumb. He just wasn't accountable. Ben Johnson right away has been like, yeah, I got to get better at this and I got to get better at that. If something goes wrong, he's like, yeah, I screwed that up. Kind of like Dan Campbell, his former boss. And I think a little bit like Dan Quinn. You guys tell me, this is the difference, is that Ben Johnson is just a regular dude. He seems genuinely himself, messy, weird sometimes, laughable. He knows he's a computer nerd trying to be tough in a football universe and laughs at himself about that. It's when coaches are genuine people like that, it makes it a lot easier for players to be like, oh, all right, yeah, I know what to do. And also Ben is really detailed and the coaching staff's really good. That's been the biggest difference.
So defensively, the Bears have been really bad in the run game. TJ Edwards is back tonight. How much does that help? Do you think they could be improved defensively against the run?
Yeah, TJ Edwards back is a big deal, and Kyler Gordon being back, the nickel, is a big deal. Kyler is the one guy that Dennis Allen cited by name when he took this job as the defensive coordinator, and Kyler is a big key for Dennis being able to do what he wants to do. The past few weeks, without Kyler and without Jalen Johnson, who is hurt, had surgery, and hopes to come back late in the year, we'll see, Dennis Allen has had to play a lot more zone back there and a lot less man. He's known for playing man coverage with his corners and then having the pass rush and the defense work in tandem with that. He's had to play a lot of zone, a lot of soft stuff. With Kyler back, I think he's going to be able to play man a lot more with Tyreek, who's had a very good few weeks here. Seems to be growing up a little bit. And with Kyler, and that will hopefully free up Jaquan Brisker, the safety, the box safety, to get up there and help in the run defense. So we're hoping for bye week strategy improvement and some health, and we're hoping for Edwards and for Brisker to get up there and help in the run stuffing, because you guys, man, that's the best run team in the league in Washington. So we're frightened but hopeful.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Talking with Matt Spiegel here on the Rude Guest Hotline. Rude makes the most reliable heating and air conditioning products in the DMV. Of course, you can listen to Matt on 670 The Score in Chicago. Curious for you, man. The players this week, the coaches this week have all been adamant they don't want to talk about the Hail Mary. I believe Ben Johnson said the same thing. And for him, it makes sense. He wasn't even a coach. He was coaching in Detroit at the time. But it's also pretty undeniable that after that Hail Mary, the Bears' season fell apart. They lost 10 in a row. I think Tyreek Stevenson ended up getting suspended for a game or something.
Mm-hmm. Half,
sorry.
Should have.
How much,
Yeah.
if at all, will the Hail Mary make an impact tonight?
I don't, the only guy who it's going to be on the mind of is Tyreek. And Tyreek has been going through some stuff in his life. Tyreek was bad last year. And that play, and he was distracted, was kind of an emblem of it. Tyreek had a kid in the offseason, Tyreek Jr. Now that Jalen has been hurt, Tyreek Stevenson is the number one corner without a doubt, and has been stepping up to the responsibility of it, has gone to coaches and asked for help. And and he has talked openly about new ways of learning, and like watching film in a different way, and like saying, I don't really understand this coverage and what's being asked of me. Can you help me figure it out? To Al Harris, among others on that coaching staff. And in turn with that, Tyreek has played maybe the two best games of his career the last 2 weeks. So we feel like we're seeing Tyreek in a moment where he's growing up. And it's year 3. He could get paid and set himself up for the rest of his life, set his family up for the rest of his life. So there's some seriousness with it. Mm-hmm. Now, Tyreek is also emotionally volatile. So is there a chance that the fans talking some smack to him is going to get in his head? Sure. Is there a chance the players
I'm going to promote this after you finish talking.
Hey, man, he knows it's coming. He knows it's coming. Brian, he said it was coming on social media last year, and it got to him, and he knows it's there forever. It's on his Wikipedia page. He was talking about his son having to grow up and know. Like, he's teach tape. Tyreek Stevenson is now teach tape for the rest of football eternity,
Wow.
you know? So at least he's owning that and embracing that instead of running from it, and he's dealing with it. So I've been impressed with what he's trying to do in terms of his maturation. So that's the guy to watch. It's a worthy storyline in terms of him and him alone, in my opinion.
For sure. Caleb, how has he been this year? I know the numbers are really good against the blitz. He still does some of the off-schedule stuff that drives you crazy. What do you make of Caleb's game, now through 4 games with a new coach?
I'll tell you what, guys. We have been blessed, cursed, gifted with the opportunity to watch 3 years of Mitch Trubisky followed by 3 years of Justin Fields, followed by now 2 years or a year and change of Caleb Williams. And I feel like I have learned a lot in the past 7-8 years. And, it's funny because anybody watching the morning game yesterday saw Justin Fields still holding the ball too long and making it more difficult for his offensive line and his team. Not all 9 of those sacks were on him, but a bunch of them were on him. And that was true of Caleb last year with the 68 sacks. Some of those were on him, and he knew it. And he is holding the ball a lot shorter this year. I know the numbers will say that, but also just in general, he's trying to learn what Ben Johnson wants him to do, which is to at least some of the time be Jared Goff. 3-step drop, stop, fire. 5-step drop, stop, fire. And if you do that, you're limiting the plays in which you have to become Superman at the end of those plays. So Caleb's a work in progress. I don't know exactly what version we get tonight. I know we got a real good version of it against Dallas with a terrible defense. I know we got a pretty good version, especially in the second half, against the Raiders on the road, and that felt big. But coming off a bye, I don't know, man. These are kids. You guys know anybody who's 23? He's going to learn something and then maybe go backwards and then learn it again and then go backwards again and learn it again. I mean, like by week 9 or week 10, we'll have a firm hold on whether he's taking all of Ben Johnson's teachings to heart, because there's some maturity that needs to happen. Mm-hmm. But so far so good, and we'll see what happens tonight in a big spot.
Yeah, I kind of look at it like a golf game. When you start playing and you somebody taught you something, but you get in one of those moves where you get a little stressed and you go right back to what you've always done. And I wonder, when things get a little tough or a little stressful, will he resort back to being that guy who he's always been? Because it's kind of hard to get away from it. Yeah,
that's it, especially when it's been the reason that you've been a success your whole life. It's been the reason that you're number one overall. So, it's part of the breakdown process. But, again, man, look around. Like, this league is about really good quarterback teachers making guys confident, right? Whether it's Kevin O'Connell with everybody that comes through Minnesota, or Kyle Shanahan with everybody that comes through San Francisco, as Mac Jones threw it for over 300 for the second week in a row, right? Mm-hmm. It's like and Ben Johnson seems to have that touch. Last week, after the really good comeback win against the Raiders when Caleb was excellent in the second half, Ben Johnson told him before the big drive at the end, "You were born for this. You've got this. You were born for this." And Caleb went out, and he said that helped him with the confidence he needed to go lead his team. So Ben's hard on him during the week. And when it's game time, he says, "You got this. Go play. You know what to do. Go ahead, kid." Yeah. So it's like it's fascinating to watch, and I'm hopeful. And because if it doesn't work, if it doesn't work with the number one overall pick, the unquestioned generational talent for the Bears, then it will never work for the Bears. You know what I mean? So it's got to work.
Yeah. I mean, and Caleb has all the ability, right? Like, I mean, physically, he's a super gifted player. It seems like Odunze has kind of emerged as his favorite target. How good is Odunze, and what is DJ Moore's role now?
Yeah, Odunze is super stable, and he's a big body, and they've had a really good chemistry from the night they were drafted at the same time, and they've worked out a lot together. DJ Moore has been an awesome pro this year. Totally happy with his role, not complaining, and he's never really been a complainer. He wasn't even a complainer down there in Carolina when he had I think he had 5 1,000-yard seasons with 5 different
pretty crazy
in Carolina. So, and right now DJ's been playing a lot of running back, guys. Like, DJ's been playing a bunch of running back, and Ben's clever. Ben is crafty. I know your guy Joe Witt called him gimmicky, whatever. But Ben is crafty. He uses DJ without changing personnel to all of a sudden have a running back or a third wide receiver. So be on the lookout for that kind of thing tonight. So DJ's being used like crazy all over the place, and happily so. And then the third guy is a guy that you guys had, Zacchaeus, right? Zacchaeus was there last year.
Mm-hmm. So, Zeke can play, man.
Yeah, but he's right. He can play. He's super solid. So it's a really good batch of receivers, and they're all blocking. No block, no rock is what Antoine Randall says. You don't get the ball unless you block. So that's what's happening.
When did Witt call him gimmicky? I'm trying to find
This week, because he was talking about how Jamison Williams threw the interception last year in the playoff game. So Joe Witt talking about Ben Johnson said he's gimmicky and stuff like that. Because and Ben is like Ben likes to have fun, but Ben makes sure the basics are locked and loaded before he unleashes the fun.
For sure, it's interesting. I pulled up the transcript when you said that, and I don't see gimmicky in here. So I wonder if he actually said it or if that was like it's been very interesting because for reasons I can wrap my head around, I suppose it seems like Bears fans, and I'm curious if you noticed this. It seems like Bears fans are very almost obsessed with Washington.
Yeah, totally obsessed.
Have you noticed that?
I haven't noticed an obsession. No, I mean, look, guys, it's been a Cubs town until about 2 days ago.
Yeah, sure.
Let's be honest. The last couple weeks have been Cubs focused, but no, I haven't noticed that. Like, there's just like we started out with. There's a lot of legit juicy storylines and narratives, so there's a ton to talk about in that way. And that game was it unleashed like the ugliest season that a fan base who has seen a lot of ugly seasons may have ever lived through. I mean, like between that and when Eberflus, crapped down his leg in Detroit on Thanksgiving and got fired the next morning for letting the time go off at the end, it's like, I mean, that was some of the ugliest football we've ever witnessed. So we're upset about it, but I don't know.
But Matt, they were like that before the game last year, and then once the game happened, they got worse. Like I would go on to Commanders, like little threads or whatever, and it was all these Bears fans commenting. I'm like, what the hell are y'all commenting for?
Well, it's interesting. Maybe part of that, in terms of last year and beyond, is that Jaden was way ahead of Caleb, and Bears fans didn't want to admit it.
Right.
For a while, and then had to admit it, and are here comfortably admitting it now. Mm-hmm. And also, Kingsbury came in and did an interview with Eberflus and was sent on his way. And when when Kingsbury was asked about it, he wouldn't even comment on it, which was interesting. So there was, but here's the thing: I wanted Dan Quinn a few years back, guys. When they hired Eberflus, Dan Quinn was a finalist. I wanted Dan Quinn badly, and I think that was supposed to be his job, and then Ryan Poles took over and did some of Trace Armstrong's bidding and gave the job to Eberflus, in my opinion. So that thing got ugly and messy. So like I said, there's a lot of angles, a lot of good storylines between these teams.
For sure. It should be fun. Matt, thank you for the time
Appreciate
today,
you,
man.
Matt.
Appreciate it.
Hey guys, really fun. Thanks.
All right, brother.
Take care. Matt Spiegel, 670 The Score. So my boy Sanai is listening, and he texted me that Joe Witt did say gimmicky, but like immediately corrected himself because he was very complimentary of Ben Johnson. I'm reading from the transcript, which does not say gimmicky, so maybe Joe asked that not be included. Said, I think Ben Johnson is excellent. He does a nice job of testing you vertically and horizontally and testing your eyes. It's another eye discipline type game. He is a very talented quarterback that can make every throw. So certainly very, very complimentary, but he did say, the trick plays are going to be alive, so we have to make sure we're true with our eyes.
Yeah.